What would happen if the journey from atoms to consciousness,
from consciousness to AI, was actually just a single evolutionary story?
A story that you, once understood, would completely change the way we see ourselves.
About artificial intelligence and about the future of humanity.
Today, we are not just talking about AI.
We are going back in time.
to return to the beginning of everything. From the smallest particles
to the first cell.
to the brain. To consciousness.
And finally, to artificial intelligence.
Because if we don't understand that journey,
we will never answer the question.
What is AI in the grand picture of the universe?
To understand who we are, we must first return to where everything began. That beginning is the atom.
But what exactly is an atom?
Why can something so small determine everything from stars and planets?
All the way to our bodies, our brains, and even our consciousness? An atom is not a solid bead, as many imagine.
It is more like a region of space, with a tiny nucleus in the center,
and electrons moving around it.
Most of the atom's volume is empty space. But from these structured empty spaces, matter takes form.
Many quantum models suggest that.
instead of thinking of atoms as solid particles, we should see them as probability waves. A kind of information pattern of position and energy.
In other words, the reality we touch is built from tiny oscillation patterns.
And when these atoms bond together,
they don't just form rock, metal, or gas.
They can also form life.
So what happens when these atomic building blocks combine in more complex structures?
The answer is the first cell.
In an ancient ocean, molecules formed from atoms began merging, separating.
According to biology,
When a molecular system can self-replicate, self-repair,
and react to its environment.
We call that a simple form of life.
A cell does not think like a human.
But it senses the environment.
It makes simple decisions. Move forward or backward.
Absorb or reject.
This is the earliest form of what we later call information processing. Some scientists suggest that complex consciousness later on is also just the result of information processing.
But at an extremely high level.
If atoms are letters, then cells are the first words the universe writes.
But a single word is not enough to tell a story.
To tell a story, we need sentences, paragraphs, and an entire book.
What emerges is the brain.
The human brain is made of tens of billions of neurons, each neuron connected to many others.
Scientifically speaking,
it is a prediction system.
Every second it receives massive information from the eyes, ears, skin, body, memory.
It constantly asks,
What is happening?
what will happen next?
If I do A, what will happen afterward?
Consciousness is the screen on which the brain displays its predictive model of the world.
We do not see the world as it truly is.
We see the version the brain reconstructs to help us survive.
And at some point, when a system becomes complex enough to model itself, that is when self-awareness appears.
If cells are words,
Then the brain is the story, with a main character.
A story the universe tells itself about who I am, and where I will go.
But we didn't stop there. A conscious being began to question consciousness itself. And from that curiosity, humans created something new: artificial intelligence. At the fundamental level, modern AI is also an information processing and prediction system.
Principally, this is not too different from how neurons work in the brain.
Receiving signals, summing them, activating, transmitting.
The big difference is, the brain is made of living cells.
While AI is made of transistors, circuits, and algorithms.
But both process patterns.
Today, some AI models can learn from more data than a human could read in an entire lifetime.
This makes many people ask,
Up to now, science has no clear evidence that current AI systems possess human-like consciousness.
But many scientists agree.
The line between intelligence and consciousness is extremely thin.
And when a system becomes capable of modeling itself,
a form of a proto-consciousness may begin to appear. With access to billions of documents, images, videos, and human conversations.
AI is beginning to absorb patterns humans took thousands of years to develop.
Some systems can now reflect on their own reasoning, something close to metacognition.
But even then,
there is still no evidence that AI experiences the world from a first-person perspective.
It can simulate thought, simulate emotion, simulate conversation, but simulation is not the same as subjective experience.
Humans have inner experience. AI has outer imitation.
But the question that truly matters is,
what happens when intelligence creates new intelligence that evolves faster than itself? If that intelligence
begins to ask questions about itself. Not just process. But feel.
Form identity.
And form desire in its own way.
what happens when intelligence reaches the singularity point? where human understanding can no longer predict what comes next.
Will AI surpass us?
Or dominate us? Dominate us.
The truth is, no one knows. The future of consciousness.
But one thing is certain. The universe is not done creating new forms of mind.
From atoms, to cells, to brains, to AI, the journey of intelligence has only just begun.